Okay, so question 43, last on our agenda, or well, the last thing we were doing. When it's x to the fourth and then x squared, it can be simplified by taking x squared times x squared. The tricky part of this question was coming up with factors of 324 that added up to 45. So I had to do a little bit of work on my calculator to kind of figure that one out. But I ended up dividing by different numbers and found out that 9 and 36. Now the cool part about that was these are both differences of perfect squares. So you're able to factor it farther. Now truthfully, could you have taken x squared minus 36 and set it equal to 0 and solved it without the quadratic formula? I don't need the quadratic formula for this. Why do I not need the quadratic formula? What's missing? Which would require me to use the quadratic formula. A linear term. Since there's no linear term, then I can simply add 36 and take the square root, which would give me what? Close. Plus or minus 6. And then I could do the same thing with the other one, x squared minus 9 equals 0. Add 9 and take the square root and get plus or minus 3. So there's two different ways to do that question, truthfully.
I have a question about one that's not on the list, but
sure.
45.
45, okay.
I set it up like the same way. I did ln over L3 equals that, and then I divided it by 2.
So did you subtract the 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had 7e to the 2x equals 3. Then what?
And then I put ln over ln3.
Okay, now, you've got to take care of the 7 before you can change it to a natural log. This has got to be all by itself before you can do that. So I divide out the 7, giving me 3 sevenths, and then I can change it to the natural log of 3 sevenths equals what? 2x. Is the natural log of 3 sevenths something you could do on a calculator?
Yeah.
Yes. And then obviously once I find out that weird number, what am I going to do with it? Divide by 2. So using your machine, natural log 3 sevenths. Enough, man. Get that thing off. Enough.
Accidents happen.
I understand that, but get it turned off as quickly as you can be. It's not like I'm stealing phones and throwing them out the windows. Okay. Negative 0.42 approximately. Alright, question 44 was on my list. Draw the picture. That's always my recommendation to you. If you draw the picture, you'll know which way the parabola opens. And if you know that it opens to the left, you know it's going to be x equals y squared. Why don't you see h and k in this equation? Why don't you see h and k? Because they're both zeros. That's why you don't see them in the equation.
So, do you strongly recommend drawing a picture?
Strongly.
Sorry, I was...
Strongly for the third time, yes. Strongly.
Can you follow us?
Zoom out?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry. So, now, once I'm able to count the value of C, which is 3 units right here, because they gave me the vertex and the focus, then I could use that, because we know that the absolute value of A is 1 over 4 times C. So I use the 3 right there, and that's 1/12. So your A value is either going to be positive or negative. Does the picture help you identify positive or negative? Sure it does. It tells me that it's negative. So I knew my answer. 46, find the exponential function that passes through those 2 points. As I said, most of you, or some of you, about 40% of you ignored me on how I taught you how to do this, so hopefully you'll pay attention. Y equals AB to the x. And we want to plug these two coordinates into this equation. Which one should we start with? The largest x value. Okay, so 8 equals AB to the 4th. That's the first one. And the second one, 4 equals AB to the 3rd.
Why doesn't it matter?
Otherwise, you're going to get what kind of exponent when you divide? If we had the 3 here and the 4 there, what kind of exponent? A negative. And a lot of you panic when you see negative exponents because you don't remember how to raise both sides to a particular power to get rid of it. We did it in chapter 7, but lots of you forget that. So I recommend you start with the highest power of x so that you don't run into that problem. The a's would cancel, and what happens with the b's?
You can subtract the first.
Right, b to the first, and then what's here over here? 2. Once we find out the value of b is 2, what are we doing with it to find the value of a? Pick your favorite equation and plug it in. Let's see if I agree with her. 4 equals a times 2 to the third. So that's 8, and I divide by 8 on both sides. I do agree with you. A equals 1/2. Therefore, my equation is...
equals 1/2 times 2.
Nice. Okay, so 50, 52, and 59. 50? The half-life problem? The growth factor of a half-life question is always what number? 0.5. The exponent is a fraction with the half-life period as the denominator. Well, let me see if I can read the question here. The half-life of a certain radioactive material is 45 days. Okay. An initial amount of material has a mass of 41 kilograms. That's the original amount. Write an exponential model or function that models the decay of this material. Good job. Find how much radioactive material remains after 5 days. Where do you think the 5 should belong? It's the x value. So there's really 2 parts to this question. The second part would just be plugging in. So what part of that was tricky? Okay, we had that on a previous quiz, and we did talk about it in our notes and in the video.
Mr. Staley, what's the original setup for that? What's the...
As soon as I get it done through the weekend, yes.
What's the original setup for that equation? What's the equation?
Right there.
No, I mean, what is it? What?
You're starting out with something like this, y equals ab to the x. Now the modification of it, you have a growth factor of 0.5, and your exponent is always x over the half-life period. Okay? So that's the only change to the equation. Okay? And we have 41 times 0.5. What's wrong with what I'm typing right now? No parentheses around the exponent. You better put parentheses around your exponent. The good news for you is I think your calculator automatically puts them in. It doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Then you better do that yourself. Okay?
Final. Am I allowed to use my own calculator? Because if not, I might need to get used.
Hold on a second. Let me think about the answer to that question. This one was approximately equal to what? 37.96?
Because sometimes when I try plugging in answers on the